Hola, muy bienvenidos todos a este webinar de Jóvenes de Excelencia y Audacia. Soy Erika Alfaro, me da mucho gusto tenerlos aquí. Hoy que vamos a compartir la información de dos importantes universidades en Canadá, como son la Universidad de Toronto y Dalhousie University. Diego, muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros de parte del equipo de Citibanamex.
Hola Eri, muchas gracias. Gracias a todos por conectarse y pues gracias a la Universidad de Toronto y la Universidad de Dalhousie, que seguramente la información que nos puedan proporcionar hoy será muy útil para todos los beneficiarios del programa. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, hoy tenemos, como les comentábamos, dos universidades del consorcio Caldo. Como hemos visto en otras ocasiones, Caldo representa a 10 universidades pertenecientes al grupo U15. Este grupo se distingue de otras universidades canadienses debido a su fuerte enfoque en investigación. Caldo ofrece servicios gratuitos de apoyo a estudiantes interesados en realizar estudios de posgrado en Canadá. Algunos de estos servicios son ayuda a información de cómo conectar con posibles supervisores, apoyo con identificación y posterior aplicación de programas de posgrado, entre otros. Tuvimos ya hace unas semanas un webinar precisamente con Caldo. Los invito a, si quieren ver mayor información, que lo puedan revisar en el canal de YouTube de Audacia. Bueno, para mí es un gran gusto poder darles la bienvenida. Bueno, haré un cambio de idioma, perdón, para darle la bienvenida a nuestros speakers. We have from the University of Toronto, Olga Palari, who has over 10 years of international recruitment experience at research-intensive, comprehensive Canadian post-secondary institutions. In her past and current roles, she developed, planned, and initiated activities that enhance University of Toronto, UBC, and Western's profiles among stakeholders in Europe, Latin America, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. She has coordinated special events and visits and represent Canadian universities internationally at education college fairs, university visits, and other educational events. Furthermore, she initiated and cultivated long-term relationships with key universities in Latin America, Mexico, China, and Southeast Asia, and government organizations and agencies including CONACYT, CSC, LPDP, VIED, and Saudi Bureau. Olga, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm sure you have a lot of things to share about the University of Toronto. Welcome, Olga.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. So thank you very much for the introduction, and it's a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon and presenting to you about the University of Toronto, one of Canada's leading research universities. And as you know, today's presentation will be primarily about the graduate studies, although I am excited to give you a brief introduction to Toronto, as well as why students from across Canada, as well as the world choose to study at the University of Toronto. I will also give you a brief overview about the various programs that are available and give you a brief glimpse into the application process, as well as the admission requirements. As you're well aware, we only have about 60 minutes with you, and I have about 20 minutes to present to you about the university. And it's impossible to give you all the information, so I will give you into what the city's like, what it's like to study at the university, and also provide you with some tips about how to apply and admission requirements. And if you have any follow-up questions, you're always welcome to send me an email, and we'll be happy to answer any follow-up questions that you may have post the presentation. So the university was founded in 1827. As you can see in this picture, the university looked very much different back then than what it looks like today. Back then, much of our downtown campus was farmland. Today, the university is located in Toronto, which is one of the largest cities in Canada. So here you can see a beautiful picture of Toronto with the CN Tower there. And not only is Toronto the largest city in Canada, it's also fourth North America's largest city. It has just under 3 million residents, and the GTA area, or the Greater Toronto area, has a population of nearly 6 million people. And certainly students very much benefit from its urban setting, only steps away from the campus, as students enjoy theater, opera, concert, and ballet. Of course, today this is not possible, but we hope that once this pandemic is over, you will again be able to enjoy all these exciting activities just steps away from my campus. This is just a night aerial shot of Toronto. Yes, so this is perfect. So despite Toronto being in a very urban setting, it does remain to be one of the most livable cities in the world. It was, by The Economist magazine, it was ranked as one of the most livable cities, one of the safest cities as well. We have an excellent subway system, which means that those who live downtown do not require to have a car. So it's easy to commute. We have many parks and green areas, so it sort of creates that city in a forest feel. Toronto is a very diverse and multicultural city. It is one of the world's most diverse cities, with more than 160 different languages spoken. So I always tell students that no matter where you're coming from, you will find a piece of your community here in Toronto. More than 50% of its residents are from visible minority populations. And what's great is that Toronto recognizes the diversity that we have here in Toronto, and as a result offers many services and resources in up to 160 different languages. Next slide. So if you're considering to stay in Canada after graduation, and that's something that is possible once you graduate, Toronto is one of the best places for young people to start their career. In 2015, The Economist ranked Toronto as one of the world's best economies for young people. The city has a strongly diversified economy as well, being the headquarters for Canada's 5 largest banks, and it's also home to a very thriving medical science industry, alongside with arts and environmental design and fashion and film, as well as business services. So now let's look a little bit at the University of Toronto's advantage and how it measures up across universities globally. So the University of Toronto is widely recognized as one of the world's great institutions for higher learning. It is, according to some of the more reputable rankings and reliable rankings, as you can see here in front of you, University of Toronto has been ranked as one of the top research institutions in the world and one of the very best public research universities. It is, as you can see, such rankings like Times Higher Education, World University Rankings, academic rankings of world universities have ranked U of T among world's top research institutions over the past several years. U of T is ranked 3rd in the world for research output, just after Harvard and Stanford. So what does that mean? It means that our faculty members are world leaders in producing research that is used and referenced by other experts around the world. And there are 2 ways to measure a university's research productivity. One way is by the number of publications by its faculty, and the other is how often are those publications cited. So if you look at how many papers U of T faculty publish, we rank 2nd, just behind Harvard University. And if you measure how often researchers refer to our publications, we rank 3rd. So what that means is that you as a student at University of Toronto will be working with some of the most reputable researchers in their field. We recognize that going abroad is a big investment. Many of you will be leaving the comforts of your home and coming to Canada, and it is certainly a big investment. However, you'll be glad to know that U of T graduates are ranked 12th overall in finding work after graduation. And when it comes to public universities, if you go to the next slide, we do even better. Our graduates are ranked 8th in the world when it comes to landing good jobs post their graduation. In addition, our university also benefits from many partnerships affiliated with our teaching hospitals. So the research that is carried out at those hospitals are driving advances in surgery, in rehabilitation medicine, pharmaceutical sciences, for example. Now let's switch gears a little bit and speak about the three campuses. You may or may not know that the University of Toronto has 3 campuses. So in the west, we have University of Toronto, Mississauga, so that's the picture on the left, and it's surrounded by a beautiful green space. In the east, that's the picture on the right, is our University of Toronto Scarborough campus, which sits on an edge of a beautiful ravine. And right in the center, the St. George campus, which is our downtown campus. When students ask us, well, which campus will I be at? Will I be studying at? It really depends on the program. So which program will you be choosing will depend on the campus that you will be studying at. We offer more than 280 graduate degree programs across 85 graduate departments. So there's quite a variety and breadth of different programs. However, we also focus on interdisciplinary research, and many of our faculty members as well as students choose to work in different programs and different projects and cut across different disciplines. So, for example, it's not surprising that many of our professors are cross-appointed to more than just one program. So a professor that you may be working with may be affiliated with the Department of Chemical Engineering and Applied Chemistry, but also Institute of Medical Sciences, Biomaterials, and Biomedical Engineering, as an example. University of Toronto is home to Canada's largest graduate school with over 18,000 graduate students, and more than 3,000 of those students are international students coming from all over the world. So we're very proud of the professors and the students, and we recognize that our school is only as good as our professors and our students. And we are even trying to actively build partnerships with universities around the world and collaborate and conduct research projects and share knowledge. And I'll briefly share a little bit later on about some of the collaborations that we do, for example, international visiting graduate program, as well as JP, which I'll touch on briefly. Of course, we will not be the powerhouse institution that we are without the superb research and world-class research facilities across all disciplines, whether they're situated on our campus or at remote sites or in collaboration with various international institutions. We also have one of the 3rd largest libraries in North America after Harvard and Yale, with more than 19 million physical holdings and over 5.8 million electronic holdings. So you will certainly have access to many excellent resources on our campus as well as online. So we recognize graduate studies as a serious commitment. It requires a lot of time, a lot of energy and effort. As I mentioned earlier, many of you will be moving away from the comfort of your own zone to come away and study abroad. And I do want to emphasize that although it is a very tough decision, there may be difficulties. However, the benefits far outweigh all those challenges, and graduate school becomes truly an investment in your future for life. And you will have an opportunity to work with some of the best in your field of research. You'll be able to make connections with various field experts, professionals, industries in your field who will be able to further progress your career and aspirations and your progress and advancement, as an example. So I'll switch gears and talk a little bit about the various degree options that we have. And so for some of you, you are likely familiar that we offer a master's degree at the professional level, as well as there's master's at the research level. So master's degree at the professional level, such as MBA, Masters of Business Administration, or MSW, Masters of Social Work, MEng. So these are called professional degree programs. They usually take 1 to 3 years to complete. They're usually course-based, and they prepare students for a career in certain professions. So if you want to become a psychologist or an architect or a social worker, for example, this is something that you may consider. It's important to note that little to no funding is available for these professional graduate programs, and you will need to prepare to self-fund the professional your own program. Also, something to note is that many, not all, but many professional-based programs require professional experience as part of the admission requirements. So usually minimum 1 to 3 years in the field of study. Master's degree at the research level, such as Masters of Arts, Masters of Science, Masters of Applied Science. It is a mix of course-based as well as research thesis-based degrees. Generally takes, again, 1 to 3 years to complete. You will have a strong research background in your undergraduate degree and strong academic potential in order to qualify for the program. Research masters usually takes longer to complete than course-based masters, just because there's a thesis involved. It's not just courses that you're taking. A supervisor is also usually required, particularly for the Masters of Science and Masters of Applied Science degree programs. And funding usually is available to the Masters of Science and Masters of Applied Science programs. However, for Masters of Arts funding, it is less common. And something that you will learn about the University of Toronto and how it differs from many other institutions across Canada is that our graduate school particularly, and undergraduate studies as well, it's very decentralized. So everything is done at the graduate departmental unit level. So it's important to know that if you have any specific admission related questions or any questions about the program, it's always best to go directly to that graduate program. At the School of Graduate Studies here at U of T, we set specific requirements that everyone standard that everyone has to meet. However, in addition to those requirements, the general requirements, there's program unit specific requirements that are higher typically than what our admission requirements are. PhD, degree doctoral, so PhD or SJD, which is equivalent to PhD in law. It generally takes 4 to 5 years to complete. It is an in-depth, long-term research commitment, as you can imagine. It can take up to 5 years. In order to qualify for the program, you need to have proven research ability and high academic potential, as well as exceptional grades and research background. What you'll be interested to know in is that we do have a few direct entry PhD programs. However, they are highly competitive, and you do need to be a highly qualified student with exceptional research experience in order to qualify to go directly from the bachelor's to the PhD. We also offer collaborative specializations. So they provide additional multidisciplinary experience to our students through cooperation between 2 or more graduate units and their graduate programs. Hey. So for example, if you are a student in studying criminology or medical sciences or nursing, you can do a collaborative specialization in addiction studies, as an example. It will not prolong your degree. It will only you'll only benefit from doing a collaborative specialization by adding this other additional interest that you have already. And it will not cost you more money either. So you can apply for collaborative specialization at the time of the application, or you can add a collaborative specialization once you've already been admitted to the university. So in terms of the admission tips, I've already mentioned to you that U of T is highly decentralized. So if you have any questions about the deadlines, for example, they differ depending on the department. So it's similarly with admission requirements, there's a standard, but they will differ from department to department. So it's very important to always check on the departmental website what their specific requirements may be. For example, at the SGS level, we require minimum 2 letters or 2 letters of recommendation or letters of reference. However, some programs, some departments may require 3 letters. So some programs require a statement of intent or a letter of interest, others don't. So it's important to, again, check directly with the graduate unit. Always review your program of choice very carefully. Is it right for you? As I mentioned earlier, it is a big commitment for you to really invest all that time and energy. So it's important that the program that you choose is truly what you are interested in. Start early. Give yourself lots of time to decide what program you choose to do, whether you meet the admission requirements. Contact the referees in time. So it's important to really take it slow, and this is a really great time to start right now. That application process, reviewing the admission requirements, contacting the supervisors, your referees, so that you meet the application deadlines and that you're really set for success. So in terms of the admission requirements, again, these are just the bare minimum requirements for admission into the master's programs. You need to have a mid-B in your final year of your bachelor's degree. For admission into your PhD program, you need to have a B- in your master's degree. And if you're applying for a direct admission to PhD, you need to have an A- in your final year. So this is in terms of the averages that you're required to have to enter the graduate programs. However, in addition, you may also be required to write a test such as GRE or GMAT. If you have been studying in an English institution, test results such as IELTS or TOEFL will be required. Letters of reference, letters of intent, supervisors. So all those details need to be carefully looked at and evaluated. The application process itself is fairly standard. You submit your application online. We ask for general personal information, as well as ask you to upload your transcripts and all of those documents electronically. We will follow up with you, or the school, the department will follow up with you, the graduate units, requesting you to submit specific documents, final documents in paper-based form, so transcripts sent directly from the issuing institution to U of T, for example. But again, it depends on the unit. Some units will just require an electronic copy. Others will be okay. Others will require you to have a copy sent directly from the institution. There's an application fee of about $120. So it's a minimum application fee, so some programs may charge more than $120. If your program requires a supervisor, I always encourage students to reach out as early as possible, because that's one of the holdups often, is because it does take that time and effort to find the supervisor who's committed to be your advisor for 1 to 4 years or 1 to 5 years, depending on what program you're pursuing. So finding a supervisor, allow yourself time to find a supervisor. You will be spending a significant amount of time with them, so you want to find someone who is suitable to you. And I always tell students that a supervisory relationship is the foundation of graduate education. So it's crucial to make sure that you find someone who you get along with. And you can request a Skype meeting, for example, with the potential supervisor to discuss any topics of research, available funding, ask about their previous experience in supervision, the number of students that they have supervised in the past. You may also ask them about their supervisory approach, their philosophy, just so that you gather all that information to make sure that they're truly best suit for you, a best fit for you. And I can't emphasize this more, but start early. It's important to connect with them as early as possible. So something that I briefly want to mention to you is our visiting students and joint supervision opportunity. So the International Visiting Graduate Student, or we call it IVGS, it's a study abroad opportunity that is open to all international graduate students interested in conducting research at the University of Toronto. So you cannot take courses, but you can conduct research for a period of time between 4 to 12 months. You must be enrolled in graduate degree program at your home institution. So it has to be a degree program. It cannot be a diploma program, and you do have to be currently enrolled. You cannot be a recent graduate. You will not pay tuition fee, only incidental fees, and you will have access to research, to all the research and recreational facilities such as libraries, athletic center, and student services such as health and wellness family care. So under this program, under IVGS, if a graduate research student if you're currently a graduate research student, you need to identify a faculty member at U of T who is in a position to supervise your research. So the burden is on the visiting student. So if should you do this, you need to find a supervisor who is an expert in appropriate field that you're currently in, and also who is prepared to act as your supervisor. I know that this is a lot of information, and it is all the information about the requirements for this program are available on our website, sgs.utoronto.ca. And if you are interested more in this program, there's also an email address, so sgs.international@utoronto.ca. Another program that I briefly want to mention is our Joint Educational Placement Program, JEP, which provides an opportunity for individuals to pursue their doctoral degree program under joint supervision of a faculty from U of T and a collaborating Canadian or international university. So you need to have, there's two things that are required. So one is existing or emerging collaboration between a supervisor and the University of Toronto, and the University of Toronto and a faculty member at another institution. And another important component is that you need to have a full-time doctoral student whose research interests are shared between the two supervisors. So these are the two main ingredients that have to be met in order to do this joint educational placement program. You need to be admissible to both institutions, so you need to have applied to both institutions and be admitted. One institution is designated as the lead, and the second institution is designated as the collaborator. All right, well, aside from the academics, there's a lot of information I know that I've covered about the various programs and admission requirements, and you will be heavily involved in research and taking courses. However, I do want to briefly mention that we also have a great student life on campus, over 900 different campus clubs that are offered. We have graduate house residence, athletic facilities. We have an excellent graduate center for academic communication that helps or does workshops and courses, one-on-one writing, provides advice for graduate students of all levels of English proficiency. So, for example, if you would like more information or more input on academic conversation or grant proposals, editing your work or oral presentation skills, that's all available through our Graduate Center for Academic Communication. And finally, of course, the university provides health services, career education, as well as specialized services for many international students that we host at the institution. So we offer many orientation events to international students, language practice, immigration advice. So it's all provided through our Center for International Experience that truly makes sure that our diverse students truly feel at home here in Toronto. So this concludes the presentation about the University of Toronto. Again, thank you for your time, and should you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email at sgs.international.toronto.ca, and we'd be happy to follow up with any questions you may have.
Olga, thank you very much for all the information you share with us. It sure is a very interesting city and university to study. Now, I'm very glad to introduce another university. Today is a special day because we have two universities from Canada. So now I want to introduce you to Dalhousie University. From Dalhousie, we have Jasmine Smart, who is the Recruitment, Retention, and Admissions Officer for Dalhousie University's Faculty of Graduate Studies. She also holds a master's degree from Dalhousie University. And we also have Jennifer McDonald, Head Teacher of English Language Programs at Dalhousie University. She speaks Spanish, so we are also very grateful to have you both here. Thank you very much, Jasmine, Jennifer. We welcome you to this webinar. We will have the question and answer session after the presentation of Dalhousie University. So write all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us, and thank you everyone for attending today. Please, we'll make sure to leave lots of time for questions, so please ask us your questions. My apologies, I'm just going to get this started. Now, I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. If you can't, please say something in the comments. Yeah, I'm going to assume this is working. So yes, thank you so much everyone for being here today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dalhousie University. We'll start, just as Olga did, talking a bit about the city of Halifax, then a bit about the university and the programs. And because Olga did such a lovely job describing sort of the structure and process of applying, I'll speed through that. So please ask me any questions you have about specific programs or the admissions process in the Q&A. And then Jennifer will share about the ESL program here at Dalhousie University. Okay, I'll get going. I'm just going to quickly check the chat to make sure screen share is working for people. I don't see any comments saying it's not, so I'm going ahead. So here's a little bit of information about Dalhousie. I believe this presentation will be shared for you, so I hope you'll have a look at it afterwards. But essentially, we are a comprehensive university. We're one of the U15, which are the 15 public research-intensive universities of Canada. We are about a quarter grad students. Of the graduate students, about 33% are international. 22% of our total student body is international. And we have very substantial research and a strong faculty. So we're located in the city of Halifax in the province of Nova Scotia, right here where the blue is. In the background, you can see downtown Halifax and the engineering campus. I don't know if you can see where my mouse is, but I am hovering over the engineering campus. Halifax is a small to mid-sized city. It has a population of about 425,000. It's the fastest growing city in Canada, and it's Atlantic Canada's most multicultural city. Both the Studley and Carleton campuses are a 5 to 15-minute walk from the downtown core. So that's the medical campus, which is Carleton, which is about a 5-minute walk, and the Studley campus, which is where I work, is about a 15-minute walk from downtown, but it's on the other side of the peninsula. So in the picture I showed you before, you saw where the engineering campus was on one side of the ocean. About 20 minutes away from that is the other side of the peninsula, the main campus, which is where arts and sciences are. And you can be down at the water from the oceanography building in about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how fast you walk downhill. And Halifax is an educational hub with 5 universities. Truro is home to Dalhousie's Faculty of Agriculture. It's about an hour away from the Halifax campuses. Truro is the most absolutely charming small town Atlantic place. Population is about 12,500 people. It's the only campus in Canada with an on-site teaching farm. Even if you're not going into agriculture, let me recommend you take a trip out to see it. Last time I was there, they had calves and they were adorable. They did try to eat my scarf, so be aware of trailing clothing, but it was great. Truro is close to nature with Victoria Park, lots of trails and waterfalls. It's actually in a river valley with a really extensive trail system. So if you enjoy hiking, the agriculture campus is a great place to be. And it was voted the #1 friendliest community in Canada's Atlantic provinces. So whether you're in Halifax or Truro, the ocean is a huge influence both on the research strengths of Dalhousie University and of course on the way of life. So from the main campus, you can be at the beach in about half an hour. From Truro, I think it's a little bit longer, but there's lakes all over the place. And yeah, whichever campus you're on, there's some amazing research happening that focuses around our proximity to the Atlantic. And for lifestyle reasons, it is just really lovely. At the moment, people are asking a lot of questions, of course, about COVID-19. We realize that's impacting everyone and their decisions about where to go and how they're going to study. At the moment, the province of Halifax has 6 active cases, but of course that changes. So I highly encourage you to have a look both at our own website, which talks about what Dalhousie is doing, and at the Halifax government website, which explains what the current situation is in the city and province. As I'm sure some of you are aware, courses are going to be remote for the fall, except for programs that have to be in person, such as ones with, the requirement to do your oral and maxillofacial surgery master's degree, of course, requires in-person practice because we don't want surgeons who haven't done that under appropriate supervision. So please have a look at the program you're interested in, but the vast majority of programming will be remote in the fall. For research, the university has asked that a maximum of 25% total capacity, so 75% of people are not supposed to be on campus, and they're giving the priority to research. So if you're already talking to a supervisor, please get in touch with them to find out what's happening with their lab, whether there's certain days on or off, find out what work's being done remotely, and what the current precautions are. So absolutely, I realize people may have lots of questions about these. Please do bring them to the Q&A. If there are questions about what's going to happen in January, I'm afraid I don't have answers for you yet, but I can say that the university is taking every possible precaution. Olga did such a wonderful job of describing the difference between professional thesis-based research, master's, and PhD that I won't spend a lot of time on that because I want there to be lots of time for questions. But, oh, my apologies, I did not mean to advance the slide. We have more than 595 master's programs, more than 45 doctoral programs. And if you are looking for a PhD that is interdisciplinary, we also have a specific interdisciplinary PhD. In order to take part in that, you must have one supervisor in one faculty and another supervisor in a different faculty. So we're very serious about it being interdisciplinary, and your committee makeup also will need to come from multiple departments and faculty. If I may suggest as a starting place, the link I gave on the page before will take you to this form. The other link will take you to our website. Oh, my apologies. I shouldn't be touching things. And if you go to the first link, it'll take you to this form. This form will let you select all of the programs you're interested in, and each of them has just a quick 2-page comparison sheet. So you can look at, for, if you want to do electronic commerce, what are the options? If you want to do chemical engineering, is there an MEng, an MASc, a PhD? There are all those things. But if you are considering, this is a great place to start. And of course, have a look at our website. I unfortunately don't have time to talk about all of our programs, but I would highly recommend you have a look at some of our areas of particular strength, which include energy and the environment, new technologies. In particular, there's some really interesting things happening in big data and AI. Have a look at our governance programs, which do some really unique things. The interdisciplinary, I'm sorry, I already mentioned that one. International Development Studies program is a fairly unique one. So is the Masters of Marine Management. And of course, have a look at some of our ocean-facing programs. I would love to answer questions about specific programs in the end, but again, so please ask all your questions. Again, Olga did a great job talking about how each department makes their own decisions. So please check out the department that you're interested in, have a look at what they're looking for. But very broadly, you fill out the application form, send the department you're applying to all your supporting documents, pay the application fee to the registrar's office. If you're going into a PhD, you'll reach out to a supervisor. Some departments can also help connect you to a supervisor. And if you get in touch with me, I can also point you in the right direction. If you're going into a master's program, have a look at the program website, and it'll let you know whether or not they recommend getting in touch with a supervisor in advance. I personally always recommend that. When I was doing my master's, I was very lucky to work with the faculty member I was hoping to, but one of my very good friends unfortunately wasn't able to work with her first choice because they were on sabbatical for one of the years she was there. So you never know. The lab might be full. Your preferred professor might be on sabbatical or working on a research program that means they don't have the time to take on a new student. So you might not need to find a supervisor in advance, but my advice is that you have a look at it anyways. Then the department will review your application. If they recommend you for admission, it'll come to me or one of the other admissions officers, and we'll check to make sure that you meet all of the admission requirements for the university. So I'm not going to talk too much about supporting documents because, again, Olga did a great job and our requirements are pretty much identical. For ESL, Jennifer is an absolute expert, so I will leave it in her hands. And for all questions about supporting documents, please feel free to ask them at the end. But your first point of action is to have a look at the website for the program you're applying for, and then to get in touch with the graduate secretary for that program if you have any questions. Receiving an admission decision is nice and straightforward. You will get that emailed to you. There's lots of information about scholarships. Dalhousie is one of only 5 Killam institutions, and we do offer the master's Killam, which is really unusual. Have a look at our website. We also, as all the Calder universities do, work with Conacyt, so you can potentially bring that funding here. And there's quite a bit of unique funding. I particularly recommend looking at the Nova Scotia Research Scholarship. But that said, there's lots of scholarships and many of them are program specific. So please take lots of time, make yourself the world's biggest cup of coffee or tea. I swear I am not touching the slides. I do not know why they are advancing. And take the time to have a look through all of the available scholarships. I'm going to pass this on to Jennifer now.
Great, thank you, Jasmine. Hola, buenas tardes y bienvenidos a todos. Les voy a hablar muy rápidamente acerca de los requisitos lingüísticos de admisión a los programas de posgrado en Dalhousie y en Canadá un poco más en general. Porque es una preocupación importante para uno que quiere estudiar un posgrado, una maestría, un doctorado en un segundo idioma, ¿no? Y puede crear un poco de estrés, el tema de exámenes y puntajes, etc. Entonces, un detalle muy importante que hay que saber si están en el proceso de postular o pensando en postular una maestría en Dalhousie o en Canadá, es que muchos programas ofrecen lo que se llama la aceptación condicional. Es decir, que no hace falta que tengas el puntaje mínimo o el examen de inglés en el momento de empezar, de iniciar la postulación al programa. Entonces, si, por ejemplo, están todavía en la preparación del TOEFL o el IELTS, pueden postular a la maestría y recibirás una aceptación al programa y te darán el plazo de, por ejemplo, 1 año para cumplir el requisito lingüístico. Entonces, hay un poco de flexibilidad en ese respecto acerca del requisito lingüístico, ¿no? Hay que averiguar, porque no son todos los programas que ofrecen la opción de aceptación condicional. Otra opción son los programas de inglés académico que ofrece Dalhousie para nuestros programas de posgrado, y también diferentes instituciones del consorcio Caldo también ofrece esa opción. ¿Qué es? Inglés para propósitos académicos es un curso de inglés académico que se ofrece en el centro lingüístico de la universidad y que se considera un camino directo a los programas de posgrado. Entonces, tras graduarse del programa de inglés académico de Dalhousie, no tendrás que hacer el IELTS o el TOEFL. Seguirás directamente a los programas, a los estudios de posgrado en la institución. El programa de inglés académico se ofrece en 2 modalidades. Actualmente se ofrece en modalidad online, como pueden imaginar, pero en cuanto podamos volver a ofrecer el programa. Oops, Jasmine, can you go back to the academic English slide, please? Thank you. En cuanto podamos ofrecer el programa de inglés académico en modalidad presencial, seguiremos ofreciendo las 2 modalidades para su comodidad. El programa de inglés académico es una muy buena preparación para las demandas lingüísticas de un estudiante de maestría. El contenido del curso se concentra en, por ejemplo, la redacción de textos académicos, cómo usar el sistema de bibliotecas, cómo integrar la literatura y la investigación previa en la producción de su tesis, por ejemplo, cómo facilitar o impartir clase en su disciplina en inglés. En fin, es toda una gama de habilidades lingüísticas académicas que les servirán muy bien en sus estudios de posgrado. Es un curso muy intensivo, son 30 horas semanales durante 12 semanas, un curso de 360 horas, pero que fomenta una preparación muy amplia para las demandas lingüísticas de un estudiante de maestría. Okay, Jasmine, can you go to the next one? Please. Thank you. También en la Universidad de Dalhousie ofrecemos otro programa de inglés que puede ayudar a mejorar su inglés académico y profesional. Aunque no sea, este programa se llama Inglés en Canadá, y aunque no sea un camino directo a los programas de maestría o de doctorado, es un curso más corto, es intensivo, que se ofrece tanto online como presencial, que puede, como decía, ayudarles a mejorar el inglés profesional, que les servirá durante sus estudios de posgrado o también en su carrera profesional, en el trabajo, en los viajes, etc. Son cursos más cortos, pero también intensivos. Hay un curso de inglés para fines específicos y profesionales, y el curso de inglés se puede combinar con un curso electivo en inglés que ofrecemos en colaboración con diferentes facultades de la universidad, tales como Web Development, Intro to Sustainability, Business Communication, Intro to Cryptocurrency and Blockchain. Entonces, da la posibilidad de mejorar y especializar en su disciplina, en tu disciplina, por ejemplo, en Business Communication, pero en un contexto de un curso sin exámenes, en curso de pedagogía activa, donde aprenderán haciendo y estudiando, trabajando con la materia relacionada con tu disciplina. Entonces, es otra opción de prepararse para un posgrado o una estadía en Canadá. Okay, Jasmine, can you go to the next one, please? ¿Cuáles son las ventajas de estudiar inglés en el centro universitario de idiomas? En Dalhousie, todos los estudiantes de inglés, tanto académico como inglés, el programa de inglés en Canadá, tienen acceso a las instalaciones de la universidad, tanto las instalaciones físicas para los que estudian de manera presencial, como las instalaciones digitales, ¿no? Virtuales, tal como las bibliotecas, la infraestructura, la plataforma de aprendizaje virtual, etc. Pero también otro detalle muy importante, cuando están mirando o tomando la decisión o dudando entre, si preparo un IELTS o un TOEFL, o si estudio inglés, es de mirar quiénes son los profesores. La calidad docente y la calidad pedagógica es muy importante. Quieren estar bien preparados para sus estudios, entonces hay que mirar bien el contenido del programa, la preparación y las calificaciones de los profesores para estar mejor preparados para su éxito académico. Okay, Jasmine, if you can go to the last slide, please. Aquí tienen nuestros contactos. Mi contacto, Jennifer McDonald, para cualquier duda acerca de inglés, de exámenes, el programa de inglés académico, y el contacto de Jasmine para cualquier duda de admisiones, programas, en el área de posgrados. Bueno, ya está. Yo veo un par de preguntas ya en el chat, pero Erika, ¿cómo hacemos para la sesión de preguntas? What should we do for questions?
Thank you very much, Jasmine and Jennifer. It was great, all the information you shared with us. Jasmine has been answering some questions. And well, as we have a few more questions, I would like to give you a surprise. Today, we have one of the Jóvenes de Excelencia students, a very successful one, that had already concluded her studies in Dalhousie in applied computer science. So I'm very happy to introduce you Jenny Centeno, so she can share with us her experience in this beautiful university. Jenny, welcome, and we are very glad to have you here.
Hola, muchas gracias por la invitación. Hola, Jennifer. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi.
I didn't have the chance of meeting Jennifer at campus, I think, but I think I did met Jasmine at some point, maybe outside campus. Maybe. Hey. Bueno, como comentaban, yo recientemente terminé el Master in Applied Computer Science que ofrece el Faculty of Computer Science en Dalhousie. Yo terminé en diciembre apenas y me gradué ahora en mayo. Y pues bueno, la verdad es que mi experiencia en DAL fue bastante agradable. La maestría que yo tomé puede ser de 16 meses a 24, 20 meses, dependiendo de la velocidad en la que uno quiera ir, pero idealmente son 16 meses. Y consiste en que los primeros 12 meses son cursos, 3 cursos por cada cuatrimestre, y en el último semestre, o más bien en el último cuatrimestre, tienes 3 opciones. Puedes hacer un internship en una empresa en Canadá, no necesariamente en Halifax, pero en cualquier ciudad o provincia de Canadá. Puedes también, si tú decides elegir, por ejemplo, Halifax como el lugar donde ya quieres quedar por siempre, puedes hacer un emprendimiento también. O si estás involucrado también en la investigación, puedes realizar un proyecto. Entonces, muy particularmente para el programa de Master of Applied Computer Science, tienes esas 3 opciones. Si lo que buscan es introducirse al campo laboral en Halifax o en Canadá en general, yo les recomiendo mucho el stream de internship, porque tienes la oportunidad de hacer un internship de 4 meses en una empresa canadiense, lo cual es muy bueno si no has tenido esa experiencia, ¿no? Aunque sea un trabajo, los ambientes sí son diferentes a lo que en México podamos estar acostumbrados. Entonces es una gran manera de introducirse en el campo laboral y tener como una primera muestra de lo que podríamos tener más adelante, ¿no? Otra gran ventaja de la rama de internship es que en algunas ocasiones la empresa donde haces tu internship te ofrece posteriormente una posición de tiempo completo, ¿no? Lo cual pues es una gran ventaja porque entonces ya no te tienes que preocupar por, bueno, termino la maestría y ahora qué, ¿no? Sino que dependiendo de las necesidades de la empresa y de tu desempeño durante el internship, pues puedes ya ser merecedor de un puesto de tiempo completo, ¿no? ¿Qué más podría resaltar? En sí, la universidad tiene, como ya comentaron previamente, tiene un ambiente multicultural bastante agradable, la verdad. Es que a través de esos meses yo pude conocer muchas más culturas de las que estaba familiarizada. Y particularmente una cosa de las que más me gustaron de la universidad es que cuentan con un centro que se llama el International Center, donde se llevan a cabo muchísimas actividades de todas las culturas que se puedan imaginar. Entonces es muy interesante para conocer gente, sobre todo si llegas, pues, bueno, en mi caso yo fui a estudiar la maestría apoyada de la beca de CONACYT para estudios en el extranjero. Entonces, pues, prácticamente llegué sola. No conocía a nadie y jamás había estado en Halifax. Y yo creo que el International Center jugó un gran papel en que fuera fácil para mí adaptarme, porque podía encontrar más gente de Latinoamérica, más gente de México, se hacían actividades de todas las culturas, de la mexicana, de las japonesas, de la china. Lo que ustedes quisieran experimentar, ahí se podía hacer. Se hacen eventos prácticamente, bueno, pre-COVID, se hacían eventos todas las semanas y muy aparte del International Center, también existen muchísimas sociedades. Si ustedes tienen un interés en particular, es muy probable que haya una sociedad de su interés, ¿no? Hay de repente de voluntarios, si les gusta acampar, hay una sociedad para acampar, si les gustan los juegos, hay una sociedad para juegos de mesa. Entonces, es muy fácil adaptarse. Llegando de manera individual a Canadá y no conociendo a nadie, la verdad es que la universidad tiene una gran plataforma para poder adaptarse más allá de los estudios. Y en cuanto a los estudios, pues la verdad, tanto del staff como del faculty, los maestros siempre tuvo muy buen trato y bueno, al ir con una beca de CONACYT, pues hay varios trámites que se tienen que hacer durante ese tiempo y siempre tuve una excelente atención por parte del staff y por parte de los maestros, la mejor disposición para entregar los documentos que CONACYT me requería, ¿no? Entonces, la verdad, fue una experiencia muy grata, tanto adentro como fuera del campus. Halifax es una ciudad muy bonita y en general Nueva Escocia es una provincia muy agradable. Halifax tiene unas vistas increíbles y al menos una parte que he visto que han comentado en el chat es sobre el financiamiento y sobre el costo de vida de las ciudades. Y bueno, así de la manera más breve, para los estudios en extranjero te da $1,100 al mes, que se traduce en aproximadamente 1,450 dólares canadienses. Y bueno, yo en lo personal, obviamente sí hay que aprender a administrarlos mejor, pero es suficiente para vivir. Yo vivía en downtown y la beca me daba muy bien para vivir en un lugar cerca de la universidad. Yo llegaba en 10 minutos caminando a la universidad y el sistema de los camiones igual, o sea, pasaba muy seguido por lo que es la parte del campus, al menos del de Studley, ¿no? Entonces, la beca es suficiente, solo hay que saber administrarse bien, pero la beca es suficiente para vivir tranquilamente. Y pues en sí la ciudad es muy bonita, tiene unas vistas preciosas, hay muchas cosas que hacer, igual que no necesariamente están relacionadas con la universidad. La biblioteca, por ejemplo, siempre tiene muchos eventos igual culturales. Por ejemplo, en noviembre tienen el Día de Muertos y puedes ir a comer pan y chocolate y churros. Entonces, es una ciudad muy multicultural, con muchos eventos y muchos lugares interesantes que visitar alrededor también. Y pues yo en verdad les recomiendo que se acerquen a las personas en la Universidad de Dalhousie. Son muy, muy amables. Cualquier duda que tengan, incluso pueden escribir un correo súper kilométrico con todas las dudas que tengan y les prometo que les van a contestar y les van a contestar bien. Entonces, pues, súper recomendada la universidad. La verdad no cambiaría mi experiencia ahí por nada. Y pues muchas gracias por el espacio el día de hoy.
Jenny, muchísimas gracias por compartir estas palabras tan lindas con todos nosotros, con esta experiencia que tuviste allá. Y pues felicidades por esta terminación. Te deseamos mucho éxito en todos los proyectos que siguen. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Jenny. Well, in this webinar, we'll have a different thing about questions and answers because some of the questions had already been answered by Jennifer and Jasmine. So please, if anyone has another question, please open your microphone and feel free to ask your question to Olga, Jasmine, or Jennifer.
I just want to, this is Olga from University of Toronto. I just want to briefly speak about the funding because I think that was one of the questions asked, and the funding and the awards. And so in terms of the professional master's programs, as I mentioned, those programs are not funded. So it is, you're strongly encouraged to explore government scholarships, student loans, any other options that may be available. For Masters of Arts, the funding may or may not be available depending on your program. So check directly with the departmental website. For Masters of Science and Masters of Applied Science programs, they are usually funded. Even if you are an international student, they are funded. And you receive a stipend as a research assistant. And in addition, there usually is a direct grant scholarship to cover the costs. So usually tuition will be covered plus $15,000. Students are usually all expected to apply for external awards in addition as well. So you may get additional funding to what I've just described. For PhD SJD programs, they are usually funded. And something to note is that tuition for PhD is the same for international and domestic students at U of T. I'm not sure about, I don't know about Dalhousie, so Jennifer and Jasmine, you can speak to that, but they are the same. But so you will get a stipend as a research assistant or a salary as a teaching assistant, for example, plus also a direct grant scholarship to cover costs. So usually tuition plus at least $15,000. And again, you're expected to apply for external awards. And something that I do want to mention is that our Scholarship and Awards Office will be hosting a number of presentations on the awards that are available, and there are so many. And I've just posted in the comments section the website that you can visit to look at all the different awards that are available and see which one you would qualify as an international student. And also at the bottom of the page, there's an events page, so you can see whether any of the presentations would be suitable for you to attend and to learn more about the various awards and scholarships available for students.
Thanks, Olga. Yes, the setup at Dalhousie is also, please apply for external scholarships. Please also apply for internal scholarships. There are teaching assistant positions as well as research assistant positions. Depending on your program, they may be optional or they may be mandatory. Some programs, especially PhDs, will require that you TA at least one course as part of your professional development. And please, yes, have a look at our scholarship website. And if there's any questions, I'm very happy to pass them on to our scholarship officer.
I don't know if there's any other question, I'm sorry.
I think there was a question about if you can apply to more than one program. And yes, you can apply to more than one program. I know at U of T, you will be asked to pay an application fee for each additional program that you apply to. Unless you're applying to OISE, which is our Faculty of Education, you can apply to multiple programs, I think up to 3 or 4, depending on the type of programs that you're applying to, for one application fee of $120. But in general, if you're applying from one department to another, you will have to pay a separate application fee, which is a minimum of $120, and submit separate application fee, separate documents for admission. You don't have to submit a separate TOEFL or IELTS scores, because we do require those sent directly from the institution, so they're centrally available to all departments. However, transcripts, letters of recommendation will have to be sent to each program that you apply to independently.
It's the same at Dalhousie. The only exception for us is we do have a few programs administered within the same department. So, for instance, if you're applying for the Masters of Digital Innovation and then also the Masters of Electronic Commerce, they're both housed within the same department, so you won't need to send all of your supporting documents. But if you're applying for Masters of Resource and Environmental Management, which is in business, and then also a Masters of Arts and Philosophy, which is in arts, you'll need to send completely different packages of documents, and they'll also require different things. So for instance, business requires your resume, arts will require a writing sample. So yeah, have a look at each department. You will need to send them the requirements for that program application.
Okay, if there's no other question, I would like to share with you the next webinars we are having for Jóvenes Excelencia and Audacia programs. Next week, we'll have Evening. It's going to be also a very interesting webinar, so I hope to see you there. Great. I just wanted to thank you very, very much, Olga, Jasmine, Jennifer, and Jenny, also Diego. It has been a really pleasure to share this webinar with you. Thank you for all the information, all the experience you have shared with us.
Thank you very much for having us. It was a pleasure to be with you today, and sorry for the technical difficulties with the presentation at the beginning. But I hope that you learned something new today, and it's a great pleasure to have spent this afternoon with you, or part of the afternoon with you.
Thank you so much. And it was great having everyone's questions. Appreciate you having us here.
Well, so we'll wait for you next Thursday. Thank you very much, and take care. Bye-bye.